On a snowy day in November 2023, Ruth Schmidt sat down to talk with Julie Bender and Amy Cottingham about her career in teaching. We taught with Ruth at Bridgman Elementary. Ruth was known for her steady friendships with others, her common-sense approach to teaching, and her delightful sense of humor. I, Julie, remember her in her motorcycle jacket for Halloween parades. We met at Ruth's home on Lemon Creek Road in Bridgman, a sturdy place that she and her first husband, Gerald, built. Ruth tells of coming from her small town of Manistee to Kalamazoo for college and then to Bridgman. She has memorabilia collected from her experiences, including from Hathaway School. We spoke with Ruth about her life in education and how she saw things grow and change, particularly in Bridgman and Berrien County. Hi, Ruth.
Hi.
Thank you so much for doing this. So I thought maybe we could start with you talking about what drew you to teaching. Like,
How did I get started?
How did you get started?
I wanted to teach ever since I was a little girl. My mother went to County Normal, which is a teaching thing, but she never taught. And then she always encouraged me to teach because I said I wanted to be a teacher too. So that's how it happened.
And did you like play school or anything?
Oh, with my dolls and my little sisters, yes.
Okay. All right. And then you went for teacher training, you went down to Kalamazoo?
Yes. I went to, when I was in school, grade school, I went to a one-room school. There were a total of 15 kids in the school, all grades, beginners through 8th grade. Some grades had kids in, some didn't.
And this was Manistee?
That was at Manistee, out in the country. And then I went to Manistee High School, graduated. I was 16 when I graduated. And I went to college. I started at Western.
No, I'm going to back you up just a sec, because I think this is an interesting story of why you graduated when you were 16.
Oh, okay, I'll tell you. When I was a little bitty girl, the teacher stayed with us because we lived a half mile from school. The teacher didn't have a car. So she stayed at our house, and I was a beginner. That's what they called kindergarten then. And in the evening, she would say, "Come on, Ruth, let's read." So we would read, and by the time I got through with my first year, my beginner's year, I could read. So the next year we moved, and I went to another school, and I went to the 2nd grade. So I took beginners in 1st grade the same year. That made me younger than everybody, but that's okay.
Yeah, it worked out,
It worked out, yes.
And then how did you choose Western?
A friend of mine was going there, and we were gonna room together, but she only went one semester, and then she dropped out and got married. So I stayed on. The first semester I was there, I took elementary education courses, and I was bored. And I found out that there was a department called the Rural Department that had a 2-year teaching course. So I switched to that, and then I took lots of different classes. So when I graduated, I didn't have a major, I had 3 minors. One was rural elementary education. So I took classes in art, music, phys ed, all geared to the rural schools.
So you had to be an all-round
Yes.
teacher.
I don't remember. I lived in Seachlog Hall, which was across from the ad building.
Okay.
And a lot of the classes were on the East Campus, but they were both places.
That's what I was wondering. There, and then how did you get down here?
Well, I did some student teaching off campus. We had to live with a family. I lived with a family by Holland, and another girl was there with me, and we had a critic teacher.
You had a car? And
No, I didn't have a car. My parents drove me down there, and then the people who were that we lived with took us places, and it was a fun time.
Did you walk to school then, or?
No, the lady who was the critic teacher picked us up and took us to school.
Okay.
And we didn't have to have a car. I didn't know how to drive then.
Okay. And what grade did your student teach at?
I believe it was 6th. But we got so, you have to take over after a while. So I could do that.
Yeah.
Teacher and stuff. And the time worked out, so we were missing 2 days of the required number of days. So this professor who was in the rural department took me with him to Berrien County when he visited some former students of his who were teachers. And the superintendent, the county superintendent named Burl Dominy, rode with us. And we visited, I don't know, 3 or 4 different schools in the county. And then the superintendent asked me if I would be interested in teaching in Berrien County. And I said, yes, I would. So he apparently gave my name to the school board at the Hathaway School. And then they called me at the college. When the board called me to come down for their board meeting down here at the Hathaway School, I had to take the bus because I didn't drive. And so I got down here at Bridgman, and I didn't know how to use the telephone because I was used to the dial, the rotary type, and you had to punch the buttons, and I didn't know how to do that. So the people at the bus station helped me call the board member that I was here. They came and picked me up and took me to the board meeting, and then told me what the job would be like. Did I want the job? Just like that. And so I thought, sounds good. So I said, okay. So then I was hired right then. And this was probably, I don't know, March or April in the school year.
In what year? What, do you remember?
It was in the spring of 56.
56. You happen to remember the salary, or?
Yeah, I made $3,400 the first year.
Was that good?
Oh, I thought that was really amazing. I felt really rich.
Yeah.
And I lived with a lady in Bridgman. I stayed at her house. And the lady who taught with me at the same school lived across the street. So I got to ride to school with her. So I got where I was going.
Wow.
And
that must have been quite a transition for you.
It was different. Then the man who was the janitor bus driver there was single, and we had to collect workbook money from the kids to pay for the workbooks because we didn't have a lot of money there. And I forgot it, and I left it at the school, and they had church classes there on Sunday. And I didn't want somebody to steal the workbook money, so I called him and I said, would you please take the workbook money for me until Monday? Don't you want me to bring it down? I said, you don't even know where I live. Yes, I do. So he brought the money down, and then we went for a ride, and then we started going together.
That's
on the corner of Jericho Road and Hinchman Road, and there's a house there now. They took the school down. It started out to be a 3-room school. It was brick, but they needed another teacher because there were so many kids. So they rearranged the kitchen. So the lady had kindergarten beginners in the kitchen, and then there was 1st and 2nd, and I had 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and then the big room had 6th, 7th, and 8th. We did recess together. Kids had to bring their lunch. And then towards the end, oh gosh, in the 60s, they got a soup machine. And the soup machine would heat the can of soup before you ate it. So a lot of kids, and me, we ate from the soup machine. And that was pretty good. Put the money in, the soup came out, and it worked. Everybody ate in the classroom. And we took turns going out to recess. Because the lunch recess was an hour, and it was a long time to stand out there in the cold. But the kids didn't mind. They thought it was fun. So they had to be bused.
They had to be bused.
There were 2 bus routes. One was up above near the school. The other one was down, what they call down in the valley, and that's down by Rosemary Beach, near the nuclear plant. And that's where the bus would go. And so when he was taking the top kids home, we babysat the other kids. And then the next year they switched around. So
with that school, some of those kids ended up eventually going to Lakeshore, and some went to Bridgman.
They were given a choice. Yes. Okay, Hathaway was a county school, and there were many schools that were under the county school superintendent. His name was Burl Dominy. And then they would send people around to check and see if you were teaching the right kinds of things, and you were responsible to them. Especially at the end of the year, you had to turn in your attendance book, and it had to be checked before you would get your final check. Other grades for the year, you had to have every attendance by the half day. And if you were a half day off, it was murder to try to find out where that half day was. Because, some of the kids would be gone. Life was simpler then. And the kids were not quite as sophisticated as they are now. They were not into technology at all. And they got a lot of mature ideas from watching television. And I could see them changing as the time went on. Just worked regular jobs, and a lot of the kids were from the South. I learned a lot of expressions from the South. You don't throw the ball, you chunk it. And you know, the girls did girl things and the boys did boy things. When the boys got mad at each other, they'd fight, get it over with, and then they'd be all right. The girls, not so. The girls would keep it in, and they'd boil, simmer, and she's looking at me, you know. I changed because I didn't change completely, but every time new ideas would come out, I would try them. And some of them worked and some of them did not work. So I would go back to the old stuff if we needed, because a lot of the kids could not get some of this new stuff, phonics. A lot of the stuff was in the teacher's manuals, so we could just read the teacher's manuals and go from there. Okay, I taught at the Hathaway School for 11 years. Then the Bridgman public school system bought out Hathaway, and they closed it. So I went to Bridgman to teach. I taught 4th grade there. And I taught 4th grade until somebody else wanted to teach 4th grade, so I said, okay, I'll teach 3rd. So then I taught 3rd grade. So I was 4th grade and 3rd grade. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was nice. And we had a good group of teachers to work with. When I taught at Hathaway, there were brothers and sisters in the same classroom. So that the older kids could help the younger kids. So I could have a group of kids reading, and I could work with another group, and somebody else from the class could take over and help. I went to a one-room school too. And I taught 48 years in the public school, and then I went to Emmanuel and taught science. And that was supposed to be a part-time thing. And it was. I would go in the afternoons, but if a teacher was absent, then I got to sub the whole day. So I worked there 6 more years till they closed that. That was the end of that.
So you really do like teaching.
I do. It's fun.
What do you like about it? I mean, just like off the top of your head, what sorts of things
I just
do you
like to work with the kids. It's so neat to see them. Oh, I get it. It's so neat. And then they have their problems, and their problems are big problems to them. And sometimes you have to talk them over. And sometimes when the kids would have a big problem at recess, we'd talk about 5 minutes or so. But I would tell them, we're taking up math time, and we can't do that. So you have to wait till the next recess, and we'll finish talking about it. Well, in the meantime, they gave it some thought. And sometimes they made up, and we're fine, we made up, but we talked about how did you decide? How did you solve your problem? And I think giving them time to think about it really was a good thing, because they could figure out what they needed to figure out.
Mm-hmm. And calm down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you can't reason with kids who are angry. It doesn't work. I don't know. There were some hard feelings, I know, when the Bridgman school took over the Hathaway school district, because the taxes from the nuclear plant went to the school where the district was. And so they had annexed the Cook plant property just when they found out it was going to be put there. And then the Bridgman got the tax money for several years. And so we got nice equipment for our classrooms and stuff. But then was it Proposal A?
Yeah.
When that went through, then we had to split the tax money with the whole state. But it worked.
It worked not so good.
No, Bridgman didn't have much tax money at all coming in. They were almost at the bottom of the numbers of schools in the county as far as income for the school. So when we closed the Hathaway school, they told us we could bring what we wanted to from there into Bridgman. So we did. When I taught at the Hathaway school, it felt like family. And because the kids had brothers and sisters in the same class, and I was there. And then when I went to Bridgman, I had some of the Hathaway kids in my class. So that helped me with the transition from one school to the other. And it was nice. And what I enjoy now is seeing the kids all grown up, and some of them are grandparents already. So I enjoy that. Well, anybody who was my student is special. We did.
Every year you worked with Lorraine Veldman and
Carolyn Garbaszewski. I still have that dinosaur record.
and some of the kids, you say,
They know the words.
even to this day as they're older.
Yes.
Adults. You had a program.
We had a dinosaur program, and we invited the grandparents and the parents to it.
Yeah.
One year, I had a class who had a little boy who gave me things as a secret admirer. And he would say, "From your secret admirer." And I'd find cards on my desk, candy, a new pencil, things like that. I couldn't figure out who it was. It took a long time to figure it out. He did it real often. And I found out eventually. But then I thought, this might be a neat technique. So every once in a while, I would put candy in the desks that were clean. And the kids would say, "Hey, I've got candy." And I would say, "Oh, is your desk clean?" "Yeah." And pretty soon they figured out. And then I had lots of clean desks after that. The whole class, you could draw around your hand for one thing, and you could read for another thing, or you could read with someone special for something else, and then you could write the numbers from 10 to 50 and different tasks so that they wouldn't have to just sit and wonder, what can I do now?
Yes, I'm very happy. I'm so glad the Lord let me do the teaching as long as He did. I enjoyed it, and it's been fun. And I've got to know so many neat people because of it.